I'm Melanie Courtright. I'm Chief Strategy Officer at Sago, and for those of you wondering, I'm having a great time. That's been the biggest question I've gotten. So Patrick said to me, order of operations, do I have an advantage being after him? And now I think I do.
You do.
I haven't seen his slides. He hasn't seen my slides. But I am here to take the human point of view. The first thing I want to say is actually Google's wrong. Rosetta Stones do exist. Search 2008, Courtright, Stark, and you'll see the beginnings of phone, river, online sample comparisons. We did a ton of it. And we did help create proof points, create processes, create the concept of sample frame. We did all these things to help the process along. The second thing I'll say is I was there for the Katie. I'm aging myself a little bit. That's okay. I don't care. I've earned every one of my grays. But I'll say that I was there for the phone to online. The difference is it was a mode change. It wasn't a source change. We weren't moving from humans to something else. We were moving from phone humans to online humans. This is a source change. That's not something we've done yet. And will it go at the same scale? I'm going to argue no, and then we're going to duke it out. So let me start with a simple concept. Synthetic data is a mirror. It is a reflection. It is a great reflection. It is strong, it is powerful, it is scalable, but it remains a reflection of what it already knows and what it sees behind it. It is very good for reflecting the past, but did you know that most data that it models off is a year old? I've been reminiscing with some of you, where was I a year ago? Some of you know my story. Where were we as a society a year ago? Were we at war with Iran? How do we feel about that? If the data only reflects the past and it can't truly understand where am I today, is the reflection, is mirror good enough? Human data is a lens. I see many of my friends wearing glasses in the audience. I'm joining you. But so the human data is a lens. A lens focuses, it magnifies, it pivots, it looks deep, it sees detail. I'm wearing bifocals, so I have some that can look deep and some that can look far. Human data is a lens. A mirror reflects reality, and a lens reveals reality. And in a world changing as fast as ours is changing, that revelation matters much more than reflection. So let's go deeper. The impact of outliers. The thing about synthetic data and about synthetic data models is that they're designed to reduce variation. JD, are you in here? Variance. He posted about variance last week. Human beings are variance models. They're variance machines. Everything we do is variable. What I wear today, how I feel today is going to be very different than after I have a couple glasses of wine and I start impulse buying on Amazon, right? And so I'm a variance machine. We are variance machines. Synthetic models are variance reducers. They look very hard to find the pattern, and they're great at finding the pattern. But they're not great at understanding the difference between a quality blip, an outlier, and a trend. They have a very hard time discovering that. Disruption rarely starts at the averages, though. Disruption starts at the edges. It starts at the outlier behavior. So when your clients are asking you for what's going to disrupt them next, you have to be able to find the outliers and the trends and point them in that direction. AI can't tell the difference between trend, outlier, and quality issue. Now let's look at something else that's really happening. And if we get to 90 billion interviews or 90 billion whatevers, how much synthetic data is that going to take? And what we're seeing is that to get to that kind of volume, mirrors have to start reflecting mirrors. Have you ever been in a fun house when you were going to the carnival, a house of mirrors at the state fair? I have. And you get lost in there. You can't tell your reflection from someone else's reflection. You can't tell your way out. You get lost in the fun house of mirrors. That's what we're beginning to see with synthetic data learning from itself. It reflects itself, and it begins to not be able to tell the difference between reality and its own reflection. When synthetic data is used to train more synthetic data, the system slowly becomes detached. It's not intentional, it's just statistical. When mirrors start reflecting mirrors, reality becomes much harder to detect. Now let's talk about model collapse. You had 4 ways that there were biases. I've got 4 types of model collapse. early model collapse, where it loses its long tail. Late collapse, where it becomes round and sort of moves to the middle. Informational collapse, where it actually doesn't have enough information to correct itself. And distribution collapse, where it just becomes a very abnormal distribution. Researchers have observed this phenomenon. If you Google model collapse and synthetic data collapse, you'll find so many references by Stanford, by Nature, so many great references about the issue of model collapse and how important it is to have not just a little bit of human data, but a root, an anchor, a foundation of really solid human data in order not to experience model collapse. When AI learns mostly from itself, it slowly forgets the real world. And again, if markets moved at the average, that wouldn't matter, but they don't. Another issue is drift, model drift. Again, when it's not rooted in human data, enough human data to keep it from losing its long tail, to keep it from becoming too round, to keep it from losing its grip on reality, then the models drift, and they drift far. They drift far away from truth and from the center plumb line of human reality. Predictive models don't fail because they start wrong. They fail because the world changes faster than they can, and faster than the data sitting underneath them. And the only way to prevent drift and collapse is continuous connection to real people. The real purpose of research is not reflection. It is discovery. It is revelation. It is digging deep and seeing the horizon. We have to look past the present to what's emerging. We have to see how people feel today. This requires curiosity, exploration, observation. That's the lens. So can mirrors replace lenses? That's the real question, right? Can the mirror replace the lens or make the lens so small that the mirror is all we see? Synthetic data will absolutely impact research. It will. It will make testing faster, it'll expand modeling, it'll accelerate insights, but replacing human understanding, that's a different question. Because research is not about reflection, it's about discovery, that's our jobs. Mirrors show what we already know, lenses reveal what we didn't see coming, and in a world changing this quickly, they will learn to use both. So, in just the past week, 7 brands have reminded me what AI cannot do, what synthetic data cannot do. It can't use a credit card. It can't watch TV and be so excited about what it saw on the television that it tells its friends to go watch that right away. It also, if it's moderating, the person can't tell the AI moderator, hey, you have to watch the show. It's a machine. It can't watch television. It can't get mad and quit. It doesn't need a vacation. It isn't emotionally irrational. It doesn't feel fear, and it's never offended by your reference or your language. It can't hold a newborn baby and want to wrap it in a warm blanket that's soft. It can't fall in love and devote itself to spending too much money to make that person happy. It can't mourn and need dulce de leche ice cream to get through the night. And it can't recover from breast cancer and feel what that means to the rest of my life, right? If you consider the 5 senses of a human being, AI cannot taste with enjoyment or disgust. It cannot smell with hunger and longing. It cannot feel contentment or fear. It cannot see with desire or anger. And it cannot hear with love or concern. And if your clients' products or your products in this room at all lean into the basic state of human needs, you need those sensory connections for your data to make a difference. So, my last slide. The more synthetic data we generate, the more simulations we create, the more models we build, the one thing that becomes the most scarce and the most rare is human data, real human data that tells you how people feel, how they're feeling in the moment, how they're feeling about tomorrow. And if the future of research won't belong to organizations with the most data, it will belong to the ones who stay closest to people. Thank you.